Life is not predictable, and having a framework of homemaking habits can make a huge difference in getting through hard times. Whether you're going through a difficult season right now or your life is humming along without incident, I think that this video could be helpful to you. If you're in a normal, uncomplicated season right now, this is actually a perfect time to start implementing some of these habits. And I don't mean to be a downer, but I can speak from personal experience that at times life gets really hard. And the beauty of habits is that you hardly have to think about them. So if you start now, you can rely on your habits to help you when life gets hard. And if you're currently in a hard season and life feels overwhelming, starting to work even just a few of these habits into your life might help to make things feel a little more manageable. My hard is likely different from yours, and my hard today is different than it was 3 years ago. This isn't a competition, okay? This isn't a competition to see whose life is more difficult than anyone else's. I just want to acknowledge that life has hard seasons, and those look different for everyone. I've been there, and I'm in a hard season right now. But in these hard seasons, I have found that having a framework of daily homemaking habits to lean on, it makes a huge difference in my ability to manage the tough stuff. They are a grace to me. Habit number 1, a right understanding of God and self. I think that the most important habit, whether life feels easy or hard, is to have a right understanding of God and yourself. I have to remember that I am not actually in control of my life. When life feels manageable, I can mistakenly believe that I have somehow done something to make it that way, but it's all grace. It's undeserved favor from God. I am a finite human being and my abilities are limited. I have to continually remind myself that Jesus is sovereign. He is in control. When life feels totally unmanageable, I quickly realize how weak I actually am. I didn't create myself. I was created by God. I don't create my reality. And the circumstances I'm dealing with have been allowed into my life by Jesus, who has everything in control. The 19th century preacher Charles Spurgeon suffered from debilitating pain and depression, yet he once said, "I have learned to kiss the wave that throws me against the rock of ages." His waves of difficulty threw him upon the rock, Jesus Christ, who was his foundation. He learned dependence on God in ways he never would have if he hadn't dealt with those trials. And I have the same hope and security. The pain that I'm dealing with right now can be used by God to cause me to trust him and depend on him and know his love in ways I might never have if I didn't have this difficulty. Habit number 2, let things go. When I'm honest with myself about what I can reasonably do, it often becomes pretty apparent that there are things I have to be willing to let go of. Not everything is necessary. You don't have to show up to every social function. Your living room doesn't have to get tidied and be put back before you go to bed. Your toilet bowl doesn't have to sparkle. The flower pots on your front step could dry out, they could die, and the world would keep on spinning. Maybe you just had a baby and your husband is recovering from major surgery and a neighbor reported you to the bylaw officer because they're offended by the weeds in your front yard. Yes, that's not hypothetical, that did actually happen to me. Whatever the circumstances are, we choose our battles, and weeds were not a battle that I was willing to fight at that time. I had to let that go. When my ability to do things is lessened, I have to adjust my expectations and be willing to let those things go. I'm okay with most of my house being in a state of disarray when things are hard, as long as the living room furniture is clear enough to sit on anyway, and my kitchen is clutter-free. I'm pretty okay with the rest of the house mildly feeling like it's falling apart. Habit number 3, have a meal plan. You can do without a lot of things, and you can let a lot of things go, but eating is not one of them. You need to eat, and your family needs to eat. And having a meal plan, however simple it might be, is such a time and energy saver when life is difficult. You might not know how you're going to make it to the end of the day, but when you do manage to make it to supper time, believe me, you will be glad that you had a plan for what to eat. Putting in a little forethought into planning to make simple meals that your family likes to eat will make difficult days and seasons so much more manageable. Without a little thought and effort, we personally can tend to drift towards foods that aren't nutritionally optimal, like coming from a drive-through window, right? And I know that when I'm not eating well, my outlook on life gets worse because my food isn't doing a good job of fueling me. But if I have healthy eating habits in place and a meal plan to lean back on, I can make much better food choices. If you want to know how I meal plan, you can check out my video about that. I will leave a link for it in the description. Habit number 4, keep your kitchen functional. Because eating is something none of us can do without, I have found that taking a few extra steps in this essential room of the house is really invaluable. I'm so much more likely to do the work of preparing a meal if my kitchen actually has space for me to do so. This means I do my best to keep my countertops clear. The only things that live on my counter are things I use every single day. My utensil crock, my knife block, my cutting boards, my kettle, and my espresso machine, those are the only things that stay on my countertop. Nothing else is allowed permanent storage on the counter because that real estate is far too valuable for meal prep. Not to mention that a clear, uncluttered counter is a less stressful environment to work in. If you have the option of preparing a meal in a cluttered kitchen versus an uncluttered one, which one do you think feels like a more manageable task? Doing the dishes goes hand in hand with keeping the counters clear and clutter-free. If your dishes are piling up and you have nothing to eat off of, let alone cook in, how likely are you, honestly, to wash up before you cook? Probably not very likely. I find that if I stay on top of doing the dishes, my counters stay cleaner and the things I need to prepare and serve a meal are always available when I need them. Habit number 5, wash your clothes. If you're anything like me, I'm guessing that you're unlikely to stop wearing clothes when life gets hard. If you're not like me, maybe you can skip this habit. But I think it's safe to say most of us appreciate being clothed. Difficulty, it increases our awareness of our vulnerability. And I definitely want the security of comfortable, clean clothes when life is hard. Cultivating a habit of regularly running a load of laundry ensures that some of the basic needs of your household are taken care of. If you have to run the washer again because you forgot about the damp clothes inside, that's fine. If you have to run the dryer multiple times because things are getting wrinkly, that's fine. If you don't bother with folding, hey, I'm not gonna judge you. But a rhythm of getting your dirty laundry cycled through the washer and dryer will make things feel more doable. Just like having clean dishes, clean clothes makes life feel a little more manageable and normal. Habit number 6, share the load. 5 habits, I would say, isn't an overwhelmingly long list, but I know that it might seem like way too much if things are hard right now. So I just want you to remember, you don't have to do all of this on your own. We are not meant to walk through life in isolation. Being willing to ask for help and being willing to receive help if someone offers it to you is so important. Talk to those in your family about what you're going through and give them ideas about how they can help you out. You are in this together. Be okay with things not being done exactly as you would have done it. Be willing to let go of your false sense of control and just share your burden with others. Let other people help you. I'm currently navigating a journey with chronic pain. Some days I have little to no pain, and other days I can barely get off the couch. I have had this pain off and on for about 16 years, but it's recently ramped up in intensity, and it's been hard. It's been a hard number of months. My doctor is trying to help manage my symptoms with medication, but I'm also trying to find answers as to why this is happening, because I don't want to just treat symptoms forever. But whether I get to the root and I finally deal with the issue, or it's something I live with until I die, I can rest knowing that even in this, God is sovereign in my life. He's good, and I am loved. If you have questions, leave them in the comments below. I hope that you know that there's hope in whatever you're going through, and I hope that these habits will be helpful to you no matter what kind of season your life is in right now.